Hey everybody, Josh the RV Nerd here at Haylett RV of Coldwater, Michigan. And if you're considering making either your first, your last, or somewhere in between RV purchase, there's a lot to think about. You know, you got little trailers, you got big fifth wheels, you got everything in between. And they all have that one special quality that really helps them kind of stand out in the mix. So how do you choose which one's the right for you? So I want to go through a couple bullet points in really no particular order, give you some food for thought, some things to chew on to maybe help you narrow it down, because I think what you're going to find is it's not so much a process of selection as it is elimination, because there's probably more than one RV that does what you're looking for. It's just a matter of which one does it a little bit better tuned to your specific preferences, because there is no best RV. That's a question we get. What's the best RV? There is no best RV. They're all the best at a couple different things. Ironically, I think one of the first things you should be doing when considering a towable RV purchase is ignore the RV for a moment and consider what vehicle are you going to put in front of it? What horse are you going to use to pull that cart? Because obviously that's going to shape what kind of trailer you should be looking at. Now, if you don't already have a vehicle, or if that's like, we know that we're going to upgrade based upon what trailer we're purchasing, I think that's a more ideal situation. If possible, try to pick, and I didn't say throw caution to the wind and buy, I said try to pick the RV that works for you first, because there's nothing worse than falling in love with a camper and then finding out you can't tow it because you should have had one of those things over there. But if that's not an option, if you're like, nope, I already got a vehicle, I'm not spending the extra money on that, I'm only getting a trailer one time, here's a good guideline, and not a rule, but a guideline. Try to keep the trailer's dry, empty weight at or less than 80% of your vehicle's max tow capacity. Now that's a guideline. You want to skew that a little bit. If you're going to be towing a lot, if you're going to be going through heavy terrain like the Appalachian Mountains or something like that, then you want to keep that dry weight less. If you're only going to go from here to 30 minutes away and it's mostly flat land like it is here in southern Michigan, well then maybe you can skew that number up a little bit. There's no hard rule there other than just don't ever exceed your safe towing capacity. And if you aren't sure what your vehicle can tow, I highly recommend you take it upon yourselves to really learn what that thing can do, because unfortunately there are a lot of people out there that will say anything to get your money, put you in an unsafe situation. Like I said, we put safety before the sale at Haylett RV, and if you need help determining what your vehicle can handle, our team here at Haylett RV is always more than happy to double check those tow safety numbers in exchange for the fair opportunity to earn your business. Now, a quick note on towing. If you're actually not planning on towing, if you've got more of like a seasonal or park site, give us a call here at Haylett RV. We can deliver stuff easily anywhere within the contiguous United States, not to mention we send stuff up to Alaska with very fair frequency. We work with Canadian folks all the time. I mean, this is easy stuff for us. We are a very large-scale dealer. But next thing we want to do is the floor plan. At this point, completely ignore all name brands. Like here at Haylett RV, you might find stuff from Jayco, Keystone, Coachman, Forest River. For now, ignore all that. Throw that out the window. For now, we have to determine, do you like the way everything is laid out? Do you like where the couch is, where the kitchen is? And one of the biggest questions to start asking yourself to narrow that down there is, how many people are we going to be sleeping? How often are they going to be with us? How long do we think they'll be with us? And how big are they? So for a lot of folks, when you are going to be sleeping more than just one or two of you, a bunkhouse kind of becomes the initial thought and default option. It doesn't always mean it's the best option though. Bunks can vary in size greatly, both in width, a little bit in length. Most bunks tend to be about 72 inches long, by the way. So you can kind of use that figure to help extrapolate the size of the people that be going with you. Not every bunk is even like teenage kid friendly, because you know when they start hitting that middle school era, some of them like me, they pop right up to the sky real awful fast, and some kids don't. Sometimes you have adult friends sleeping with you and you don't want them kicking your wall panels, things like that. Now, that's one of the things I ask is, how often are these people going to be with us? Because a lot of times I'll see parents who have like teenage kids, and they'll get a bunkhouse trailer like we're standing in right now, and they'll finance these things sometimes for 10, 12, 15 years, which is fine. But in a couple of years, the kids are going to be grown up, they're going to be playing sports, they're not going to be as active with mom and dad, they might not want to go camping anymore. So do you really want to finance for 10, 12, 15 years a trailer that's only going to work for 2 or 3? Or do you have big kids who could make their own bed. If you've got little kids, bunks are great, because the funny thing is bunks are for mom and dad or grandpa and grandma if the grandkids come with frequency. Bunks aren't so much for the kids themselves. They're to make your life easier so you don't have to make a bed every single night. So let me throw you a little bit different idea here. So we're still in the exact same camper, but a big kid might struggle to really fit into those bunks. However, this thing right over here, since it doesn't have a wall at the foot of the hide-a-bed, big people or adult guests could sleep there. So let me throw you this idea. If you are looking to finance something for a longer term with not a lot or maybe potentially zero money down, you might actually consider looking more at a couples camper that has a secondary sleeper, either a hide-a-bed sofa like this or something like a long U-dinette to sleep the kids. Because the thing is, when they're in their teens, they could make their own bed at night. And you don't have to do it every night. Now, after 3 or 4 years, when they decide that they're kind of done camping, well, you don't have to go buy a whole new camper. And helping you find your second camper the first time is what we're all about here at Haylett RV. Because now, instead of dedicating, say, 8 foot of the trailer to a bunkhouse that now you don't need and won't enjoy, you can stay in the same couple's camper that you had and just go back to camping and just enjoy more space without a little bit of extra stuff in it. If you could make it work for a couple years short term, you'll be a lot happier long term. Now, the world of bunkhouse trailers is a very wide and varied one. But there's a couple things you can do to kind of help narrow down the search real quick. First of all, how important are certain features like having a direct entry door into the bathroom for you? This might feel weird to some people because you feel maybe a little bit exposed, but it can help cut down on the dirt track through your camper just dramatically. And it has a deadbolt, so guys, you can keep people out. Unless it's a bear. Bear's going to come through the door no matter what. You just can't help that. And the good news is that if a bear does come through the door, you will no longer be constipated. I can guarantee that. That'll just remedy itself very quickly. Another one that can very quickly determine what sort of trailers you might be considering are things like camp kitchens. How important is that to you? Now, these are really handy. Even if you don't do a lot of cooking outside, that refrigerator right there, that is so handy. Keeping drinks outside like that, instead of, again, tracking dirt through the RV, super useful. Now, another thing you might ask yourself, am I okay with a small camp kitchen or do I want the big camp kitchen? Small camp kitchens are nice because they don't really interfere with the inside of the RV. The big camp kitchens are nice on the outside, but it does mean you have to sacrifice something inside. Often it means you lose a bunk, but it could mean that you lose some storage too. Now, another really big determining factor when looking at an RV is how many, if any, slide outs are you considering? Are you going to be mostly just getting there, eating, sleeping in it, and then going outside? Well, then you might not need a slide out. But ask yourself not where are you planning and how are you planning to camp right now, but where and how are you planning to camp in about 5 years? Because once again, trying to help you get your second camper the first time is what we're about here at Haylett RV. And I kind of came up with a little exercise that I think helps people see their way through this. Ask yourself, do you feel you would ever regret having the extra space of a slide out? Okay, there's no right or wrong answer to that, yes or no. Now, do you think you would ever regret not having the extra space and comfort of that slide out? And when you ask yourself that, I think you usually generally answer your own question very well to help narrow down how big, how small you should be looking. Because the thing with slides, they're awesome. If all things were equal, if they didn't weigh or cost any more, you'd make it rain on slide outs pretty much every single time. But slide outs weigh a lot and they cost a lot very quickly. So that's an important factor in determining you know, your long-term expectation of an RV's use. Bunkhouses aside, if you're like, I don't care about sleeping extra people, or they can sleep on a hide-a-bed, what else you got? Well, the short answer there is you have no shortage of what we often call couples campers or empty nesters here to choose from at Haylett RV. And once again, each type of floor plan offers a little bit different benefits for a couple different kind of camping scenarios. Now, in no particular order, we're just going to start with rear kitchens. It's my personal belief, and largely based on the feedback that I get from viewers like yourselves over my decade-plus career now, rear kitchens are one of the very best concepts for spending a long time at a destination. If you're just going to be parked seasonally or you have like a permanent site, I think a rear kitchen is absolutely amazing. Or if you're going to do what I call kind of snowbird, sunbird camping, where like, let's say you migrate south to Florida, or as in Michigan we call it South Michigan, because it's the law in Michigan, once you're retirement age, we have to make you go to Florida. That's just the law. But, not really. But what I'm getting at is, if you're going to spend a lot of time in one place, a rear kitchen gives you unparalleled countertop prep space and storage in your kitchen living room area. And they're also really, really good floor plans. Like if it is mostly just a couple of you, but you like to have some friends over and entertain, rear kitchens are the entertainer's floor plan. Or if something a little more open and spacious is more your speed, or you plan to do more traveling, I think you should be looking at a rear living room. Rear living rooms offer the best balance of space and towability. The reason being, you don't really have a lot of storage behind the axles. And think about this. Have you ever seen those old videos where some kid is riding a school bus and they're all the way in the back and the school bus hits a bump and the poor kid gets just catapulted against the ceiling and smashes their head around or something like that? Well, that's what's going on in an RV the entire time you're towing. Now in this floor plan, in a rear living room, most of the time, a sofa or a chair or something is in the back. And if they get jiggle banged around a little bit, no big deal. It's really not that big a deal. Most of them you actually tend to strap down in transit if they're not secured to the floor. Can kind of vary by model and floor plan. But in a rear kitchen, your fridge, your storage, those things are usually in the back. They're not usually above the axle or in front of it, which means they get a more violent experience. That's one of the reasons that I think rear kitchens are better for park use and rear living rooms are better for traveling use. If you're looking for a big rig with space, rear living is definitely one of the best ways to go. But not everyone's looking for a big rig. Not everyone's looking for giant. And when you're looking at small, nothing does small without bunks better than a rear bathroom. Now, I mean, rear bathrooms can come anywhere from, say, 16 feet to 30 feet, but the reason I think they work the best when they're small is because in a longer RV, if you wake up at night and you need to use the bathroom, you don't want to go trekking clear across the thing. Whereas in a smaller rear bath RV, it's not that big of an inconvenience because it's only 6 or 8 steps to the bathroom, which is pretty manageable. It seems like a realistic expectation. Now, you can get really good combinations of storage, space, entertainment in a rear bathroom camper like you're seeing right here. But what's nice is a rear bathroom will also tend to give you just a really large bathroom with lots of floor space, big shower, extra storage in the bathroom, and a rear bathroom is also the easiest way to find a camp kitchen in a couple's camper. Now, just another little piece of kind of food for thought to think about. If you do plan to do something like even some snowbird camping, consider this. What if you just don't want a big truck, but you want a big trailer like this beautiful Catalina behind us here at Haylett RV? Well, get on sites like UShip, or we can help get you hooked up with a aftermarket driver who can do things like take it down to Florida or your destination or back once a year. And what you're going to find is that paying a driver to do all the heavy lifting and the dirty work for you, basically, typically comes up way, way less than a truck payment. So if you don't plan to really tow frequently, you might consider actually just skipping the vehicle part of it altogether and just looking at the RV that works for you. Then size is not an issue. And this one's a bit of a hot button topic for me. People say, is it 4 seasons? That is something that you should just straight get out of your vocabulary. That is a dangerous rabbit hole down which there are no clean, simple answers, and it is the #1 area of manufacturer-based misinformation in the RV industry today. How can I say this? Are you going to be camping when the snowflakes are flying? If not, then you don't need a 4 seasons camper. Are you going to keep the RV winterized in that scenario, even if it did happen to snow? Then you don't need a 4 seasons camper. Are you going to be somewhere where it could get well below 0 and stay there? Then no RV is made for that kind of use, unless you're giving it some kind of supplemental benefits, and the manufacturer won't guarantee the function in those cases, even if they are, like this Montana here, 0 degree rated since 2005. I think more people would be better served focusing on the hot climate camp capability of an RV than the cold climate camp capability of an RV. It's, like I said, it's an area of massive manufacturer misinformation. There is no such thing as like an R40 whatever RV. It doesn't exist. They can't prove it exists, but I can prove it doesn't. If you're curious about that, you give us a call here at Haylett RV and we'll send you some visual aids that'll make it pretty readily apparent. There's travel trailers and there's fifth wheels. Why would you go one way instead of the other? Well, it kind of depends a little bit on your vehicle. One thing I will tell you, if you've got a half-ton pickup, you probably should not be looking at a fifth wheel. Most likely, almost any fifth wheel. Because the thing is, the hitch weight on the front of a fifth wheel is so much heavier than a travel trailer. Hitch weight on a fifth wheel compares to the payload rating on your truck. And something that I've seen with just disturbing frequency out there are the number of different dealers who are willing to just straight overload your truck to make a quick buck. And again, safety comes before the sale at Haylett RV. So assuming you have the right vehicle for one of these, or you just want a delivery driver to park one for you like we just mentioned, why would you go fifth wheel? Well, if you're going to be spending more time in them, obviously fifth wheels have more space, but they tend to run more weight, more money. There's physically more of it. You can see how tall that thing is behind me back there. It costs more to put a fifth wheel together. Now, once we've kind of narrowed down fifth wheel, trailer, rear living, rear kitchen, whatever, you can start to add in factors like, do I want a camp kitchen? Do I want how many slides? And that'll help you determine the floor plan. And what you want to do there, find the floor plan you like, ask who builds it, and then ask how they compare. Because here's a really funny thing, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, we have all these different things that you see here at Haylett RV all the time. You know, hundreds, thousands in a year of different RVs, and they're all really cool in different ways. But the funny thing is, when you're comparing in a similar class, you're gonna find out that stuff is about 97% the same. So it's only a couple little aesthetic differences. It's only a couple little minor variances that kind of separate everything. So instead of having to learn all of the things, what you can do is get it narrowed down to say like, okay, I like this floor plan. I see that Cougar builds it and Eagle builds it. What are their differences? That's what's going to determine the one that you're going to be happy with the longest out there, because it's those little variances, like this one might do widget A, this one might do widget B. Find where they're different, not where they're the same, because where they're the same, it's a wash. But where they're different, it's that 3% DNA variance that's going to help you determine which one you enjoy the most for the longest time. And if you've appreciated all the information here today, ladies and gentlemen, I know this has been very surface level. I've thrown a lot at you very quickly. Some of it are topics I've touched on in previous videos, but never all at once. All I'm asking is that if you do appreciate the time and effort that we're putting in here today for you, give our team here at Haylett RV of Coldwater, Michigan a call. We've been here since 1989, as the stickers behind me indicate. We've been around for over 30 years, 31 now. The stickers are actually out to date. We are family owned. I'm what's called an SOB with a PhD. I'm a son of the boss whose parent had a dealership. We are a family owned, family run, family operated outfit. We take care of 42 different families here in Southern Michigan, just in our employment. And we'd love the opportunity to work with you and yours. So if that sounds good, you give our team here at Haylett RV a call the 800 number, visit our website, subscribe to our channel here where we always have new information like this coming out. And as always, take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy Haylett camping, everyone.